In your programs, you can read about our next speaker and what he does in the outer world. Ayla said she asked us about our willingness to be authentic, to be simple, and just to be ourselves. We're about to see someone who does that. Please welcome Lawson Bracewell speaking about wearing mantles of gold.
Wow. What an incredible morning. What incredible people. So once again, I find myself here as if no time has gone by and we're once again just energetically connecting with each other. So I need to just take a minute and make sure that I'm actually connected with each of you. Ooh. So, as I always say, I have no idea what I'm going to say. And although that has caused me some anxiety, as it does every year, approaching this moment, fortunately in this moment I have no anxiety at all. So, because it's all happening, it's all on. There's a loop of pictures over here. And I want to just explain what's on the pictures because I'm not going to look at them. And what I'm going to say may or may not relate to them. So there's a picture at the beginning, and it's a picture of a temple called the Silent Space. And it's at the heart of a descending school called Christ College of Trans-Himalayan Wisdom / Southern Lights Center, the sister of the Northern Lights Center. And then there's a picture of this incredible human being who happens to be my grandson named Eli. And then there's a series of 12 roses. And those 12 roses have been snapped by a wonderful woman in Australia named Kay Hannon. And I have the privilege of sending them out each month to you. And you get to see them in one big burst in this alignment. So, for me, there's a significant point every year, and I see it coming, and, I know it's going to happen, and I sort of resist it, but then it happens, and I know that the happening is Helena is thinking the thought, what is your topic? So, when I pick up on the thought, what is your topic? I make my way into the temple and I sit in meditation asking for the topic. And so this year, it happened the same as every other year. A word came through, and the word was mantle. And then over the next hour, the other words came through, as it is. You go into meditation, there's a seed of something, and then it precipitates, and you get something that's a bit fuller. And so wearing mantles of gold was what the whole phrase, the title of it was. Then the busy mind, runs down all sorts of little avenues of knowledge that one has acquired and can gain access to it. And so that's the first thing that I did. So I'll just tell you those things first. So the key word was mantle. And the first reference in the Bible to the word mantle is in the story of Elijah. And this is a prophet, a great prophet who appeared in around 9 BC. And the significant, at least for me, the significant story is Elijah's ascent into heaven. And he went up in a whirl, or he went up in fire. And he cast his cloak upon the ground as he went, and his son or his disciple, his successor, Elisha, picked it up and smote the waters and walked across. So, I have all sorts of associations about Elijah, ascending into heaven. In other words, causal body smashed. No need for this electrical garment that he was wearing, this etheric body. And so he left it behind. And then his disciple used it to take the second initiation, or to demonstrate it, being able to walk across the water. And so we have a lineage of descent here by ascent, which is what, of course, we're all going through. We're all going through the same process of rising and then also serving as we're able to descend into a practical world. Then I thought about the whole wearing word. It implies that you can take something on or take it off, and it is of you but not of you. And that brought me into thinking of these two bodies that we all walk around in, that I walk around in. And on the one hand I've got this dense physical body, and on the other hand I've got this etheric body that I'm wearing all the time. Then I thought about gold, and I love numbers, and so for me the thinking about gold was just a running through number associations. So the first one is gold. Its atomic number is 79. So that adds up to 16, that adds up to 7. And so, wow, yep, we're really right in here in terms of what we've been talking about all morning, in terms of this element which spans the highest and demonstrates in the lowest, in this seventh world, this physical world, something which is extremely potent and powerful, the charge, the energy. Then I looked at the word gold itself, which begins with a G, which is a 7. Then I added up gold, and it adds up to 22. So a real strong association with this middle principle that has to do with the flow and love that connects all things. And of course, it is our causal body, our etheric body, this great golden bowl of electrical energy that surrounds us, animates us, that is the link, the bridge between the higher and the lower world. It is the expression of love. It is the Christ energy that surrounds us, permeates us, animates us, and drives us to our evolutionary potential. So, that was my ruminations as I went through just thinking about the words in the talk. Let me put this period of my life in perspective. In the merry month of Virgo, isn't that the way that we always think about Virgo? In the merry month of Virgo, I had open heart surgery. Yeah? And it was one of those exquisite events. It came upon me out of nowhere. It was a series of golden doors that I went through. It was joy, 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 joy. Of course, it also was a very fragile sort of experience. I felt on the one hand the absolute fragility of this form that I'm in, and at the same time I felt this ramrod of electric fire coursing through me, giving me an absolute certainty about being present. Now, 2 months later, I went to visit one of my favorite out of 7, they're all favorites, but one of my favorite grandchildren, who in the merry month of Scorpio was celebrating his 4th birthday. And that's Eli in the picture. So Eli is someone who engages me immediately on a heart level. You know, it's like, I remember the day that I was there for his birthday, and, you know, he was right there, you know, outside his house waiting. And he stood very still and he said, "Why did it take you so long?" But, "Oh, I'm here now." I said, "Oh, yes, you are." And so we engaged and we began, because he has a vivid imagination. So he took me from one imaginative experience to another. And I suppose about the second day, he said, "Let's go for a walk." And I knew what he was going to do, because his father is a tramper, so very much into walks and outdoor physical sorts of things. And so it was a walk up a steep hill and through dangerous places and all these sorts of things. And I was aware that I was receiving this invitation, and at the same time I was aware of the concern of various people around me about this fragile form that I was in. But of course, how could I not say no? So I said very quietly, "Let's not tell anybody else." So, so we went off on our walk. Well, we didn't get very far on our walk before he said, "Grandpa, will you carry me on your back?" And I went, "Uh-oh, this is really a violation," you know. But I said, "If you don't tell anybody, yeah, I will do this." You know, knowing that, you know, his father is teaching him how to be self-sufficient and resolute and capable of doing it on your own. And yet, as a grandfather, I had a right to just do what he wanted. So I put him on my back, and I went through this whole process. And, you know, after it was all over, and, you know, everyone else got over, figuring out where we'd gone, where we'd vanished to. And, you know, then, of course, we told them what we'd done. And so, you know, they saw that I was still alive, and really it was okay. Then we went into a fantasy, and the fantasy, I think in retrospect, was actually initiated by me, because he's not someone who's been indoctrinated into the whole Harry Potter phenomena that his cousins have been indoctrinated into. So I said, "Well, you know what it reminded me of? When I was carrying you on my back, it was like having on a cloak, and you were my magic cloak." "Oh, all right, Grandpa, what's a magic cloak?" And I said, "Well, first of all, you have to be aware that you've got it. You know, so, you know, let's imagine that we're surrounded by this golden light with all these surging patterns of electrical energy that are all around us, and we can swirl it around ourselves and make ourselves invisible." "Oh, good idea, Grandpa." So we went around and we made ourselves invisible. And, you know, I went away from that, and later I was thinking of, well, what does that mean? Because, you know, clearly as we were going around, everyone could see us, so it wasn't invisible in the normal sense of things. But it was making us so much the same as everyone else that in that sense, what would draw attention to us are, you know, me being big, him being little, and all the other characteristics of who we are as individual eccentric personalities, that was not apparent in our magic cloak that we'd put around ourselves. Then I was thinking of, in playing with him in this magical cloak, I was thinking, well, there's nothing coincidental. I remember when my daughter-in-laws named all the grandchildren, and every one of them, I was startled by the names they picked, and, got used to why this name was appearing in my life as my grandchild. And, here he is. Is he not Elijah? He's an Eli. I mean, he's just little Eli, my grandson. But in terms of what he symbolizes Elijah, whether it's Elisha or Elijah, and this whole idea of smoting the water. I don't know about you, but, I've got a lot of water that needs to be smoted. It's like, my ordinary mundane life has been tripping through mud puddles over and over and over again, until I've become, reasonably expert at the different qualities of muddy water, where, oh, right, here I am, I'm standing in that particular quality of muddy water. My own psychological nature, my predispositions to interpret reality through, things that happened a long time ago and have, at least in their form nature, nothing to do with reality. So I went, yes, there's a significant point that goes on in the development of this etherical body where the heart opens at its various levels, allowing for love to stream in and change the perception of the waters, dilute them to such a place that they are pure for drinking rather than toxic and polluting. And so I felt, in thinking about my time with Eli, that he was teaching me about the process that I'm going through, whether it's the process I'm going through right now, in this symbolic event of having my heart reconditioned. And I have to tell you, it feels wonderfully, for anyone that's feeling insecure anywhere out there in the world, it feels wonderfully, as an organism, wonderfully reconditioned. But of course, it's a symbol of perhaps a major shift in terms of keeping the energies above the swirling waters, allowing me to walk across it. Then I was, the last thing that I saw in the playing with Eli is that I don't have to wait for something to happen. I can make it happen, It's like Eli, as soon as he turned on the button, Grandpa, you're here, he made the entire experience happen until I left and drove away. He made it all happen. He was in control. And it was all through his imagination that he made it happen. And so I thought, Lawson, Grandpa, what are you doing? I believe in it. I believe in the powers of creative imagination. I can do it. I do it every time I enter that temple and I go through the meditative process. My imagination is vivid. It does everything that I set out to do it. If I say, I want to see an elephant, oh, bang, it's right there. I just saw it. I can do this. I think we all have the ability to do that. You know, I happen to have a very close friend who says unilaterally, I can't do it. Boom! You know, so I know that there are some of us that have very strong beliefs around this, that they can't do it, but I just don't believe that's true. I think that we all can do it. So I thought, all right, so what remains then for me if I know that that's true? Well, it's just practice. It's just moment by moment practice. So I can tell you, for as long as I've been here with you, I've been imagining, well, of course, I first look at your physical form and greet you as I've known you in the past. You know, this is who you are. But then I've been switching into seeing you as an etheric being. I've been seeing you as a body of golden light. Every one of you. It changes everything. I can come back, I can alternate between the dense, and I do, but then I return. Now, one of the things that I deal with in my own psychological makeup is criticism, judgment, and irritation. You know, just in terms of my hindrances, those are spiky little plants that live in my system. And, you know, the miracle of doing this, you know, as I experience it over and over again, I'm telling you, I'm playing with this. It is not something that is going on all the time in a uniform process. But what gets me into doing it is whenever I prick myself on one of these spiky little plants. So I'm experiencing someone, and suddenly I'm going, you know, one of my little plants is going like, you know, one of the ones it likes to do is, this is boring. Yeah, this is boring. And, you know, so as soon as I switch into seeing the person as a dynamic electrical field of golden light, it's no longer boring. It's very interesting. I mean, the really nice bit is that when I come upon someone where I have a lot of tendency to do that with, because that keeps me really focused. And out of it, I feel tuned up. I've become more aware that I'm wearing this cloak, which of course is a feedback loop. I see myself differently. Because of course with all those pricky little plants, I've become over the course of this life or lives rather addicted to pricking myself addicted to doing it. You know? It's a way of punishing myself for a pattern that's in place. When I come back to myself and go, oh, right, I'm no different than they are. I too have this golden cloak that I'm wearing all the time. It immediately gives me permission just to be present rather than judging myself in terms of whether I'm on a certain percent or off a certain percent, as I'm always in my critical nature measuring myself. Well, it's time to look at the time. Isn't that interesting? You know, it says I've got 10 whole minutes left. Of course, maybe that is, I originally prepared for 20 minutes, but anyway, I haven't adjusted to the new time slot. But you know, inside myself, I say this, I come to an end, and when I said that last word, that was the end. So, I'm done, but what that can mean is that I'm open to any questions or comments or or I'm open to suggestion from our time coordinators. Maybe we leave early. This is just before lunch. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities for what we might do, but if you have something that you'd like to say. Can I sing? Well, you know, very interestingly, as a child, I loved to sing. And when I joined Michael's educational process and his singing rituals, I came into, again, the permission to sing. And I loved it. And then I fell away from it again. And just before coming away to this conference, I went to visit a dear friend who's one of these people who, there's now a worldwide phenomenon where you bring people together who say they can't sing, and you form them into a choir, and they become fabulous, you know. So she's one of these women. She does this in her little community. And so, you know, knowing where I'm at, who I am, and what I've gone through, she said, sing. That's the next frontier for you, Lawson. Open your voice and sing. So, I love to be here. I love to be here with you. I feel as if I can open up my heart and love every single one of you.